They'll tell you to be kind, to smile, to help. But they'll never warn you what kindness costs. The quiet price that slowly steals your power, your freedom, your respect. The world is not as it seems. People are not as they appear. Every favor you give, every compromise you make, every gentle word you whisper is observed, weighed, and often exploited. Kindness, without understanding, is a trap, one that leaves you vulnerable before the eyes of those who will never hesitate to take what you offer. Today you'll see the shadow behind every polite gesture, the hidden danger in every good choice. You grew up thinking that being good is enough, that honesty, politeness, and generosity are the paths to safety. And in small corners of life, they are. In your home, maybe even at school, kindness can earn approval, admiration, a fleeting sense of security. But the moment you step into the wider world, the streets of ambition, the halls of influence, the quiet spaces where power lives, kindness without awareness becomes weakness. Imagine a man walking into a room full of strangers. He smiles. He offers his hand first. He listens more than he speaks. He hopes his good intentions will protect him. And yet, the strongest, the cleverest, the cruelest in that room notice something immediately. They see his openness. They see his willingness to please. And they begin to plan, not against him with overt violence, but with subtle manipulation, with hidden advantage. Every word he said, every smile he offered becomes a thread they pull. History is littered with people like him. The idealist who refused to hurt anyone, only to watch opportunity pass and betrayal strike. The leader who hesitated to act cruelly, believing that fairness would protect his throne and fell at the hands of a more decisive rival. Cesare Borgia feared not because he was cruel, but because he acted without hesitation. His opponents' pleas, their protests, their morality meant nothing to him. He understood that the world answers only to action. And often, the right action is not the kind one. Kindness, in its naive form, tells the world, I am safe. I am harmless. You can control me. Every yes you say without calculation becomes a binding chain. Every compromise you make to avoid conflict is a slow surrender of your influence. And the world, as quiet as it is dangerous, notices. It notices who will yield, who will step aside, who will be used. Even among friends, kindness has its costs. People rarely demand from those they fear. They demand from those who submit. They take from those who give too much. And once they discover the pattern, they never stop. A polite word, a favor, a hesitation, all become debts you are expected to pay, often silently, often endlessly. You are trapped not by force, but by your own goodwill. Yet, most never see it. Most continue to believe that the world will honor their morality. They mistake courtesy for strength. They mistake trust for immunity. And then, when betrayal comes, when a friend, a colleague, a lover turns their smile into a dagger, they are shocked. They cry injustice. They mourn that life is cruel. But life is not cruel. Life simply is. And it has never promised fairness to the kind. Kindness becomes dangerous when it blinds you. When you give without thought. When you expect gratitude that never comes. When you assume that morality protects you. The truth is merciless. Every person you meet has an agenda. Every interaction carries hidden currents. And if you cannot see them, if you cannot respond decisively, you will be swept under by the very waves you thought were safe. Machiavelli wrote, "He who builds his life on kindness alone is at the mercy of everyone around him." This is not cynicism, it is observation. The world rewards the aware, the decisive, the strong. It punishes the weak, and weakness wears many masks, none more deceptive than the mask of virtue. The awakening is a quiet, painful thing. You begin to notice the patterns, the subtle glances, the opportunistic favors, the people who smile at your ideas but undermine your efforts. And slowly you realize, if you continue to be nice without awareness, you are walking into a trap of your own making. You are giving away power that you may never reclaim. But awareness alone is not enough. Recognition of danger is only the first step. The real question is what you do with it. How do you navigate a world where every act of kindness can be turned against you? How do you protect yourself without becoming hardened? How do you survive and even thrive without surrendering your humanity entirely? These are questions that no one will teach you. You must answer them for yourself. Kindness is not weakness in theory, it is weakness in practice. It is a trap disguised as virtue. It is a currency that the world will spend faster than you can earn it. But awareness, clarity, and control transform that weakness into insight. The moment you recognize the cost of your generosity, you reclaim the first piece of your freedom. You begin to see the invisible rules of the world, the rules that the kind, the trusting, and the naive cannot see. And in that recognition lies power. Quiet, patient, inevitable power. You do not have to abandon goodness entirely. You do not have to harden your heart. But you must act with intent. You must understand the weight of every word, every smile, every favor. You must understand that to survive and to thrive, you can no longer afford to be nice without purpose. Kindness is not weakness in theory, it is weakness in practice. In a world of wolves disguised as friends, weakness is fatal. Every act of naive generosity, every compromise made to appear virtuous, can be exploited. Real power begins with the awareness that being good can destroy you. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming your freedom, your influence, and your strength. Once you realize that being kind can be dangerous, another truth settles in like cold water. Niceness isn't just exploited by others, it slowly erodes you from within. Every please, you whisper, every compromise you make to avoid conflict, every hesitation to assert yourself chips away at your power. You think you're doing the right thing. You think you're protecting relationships, but in reality, you are enslaving yourself. It begins subtly. You refuse confrontation, believing it's better to be polite. You agree when you want to say no, hoping that compliance will keep the peace. You smile when your instincts scream to frown. And at first, it feels harmless. You feel safe. People nod at your generosity. They call you thoughtful, considerate, good-hearted. But the world does not bend to virtue. It bends to results, to action, to strength. And every act of unguarded kindness leaves you weaker than before. Think about the people you trust most. How often have they taken advantage of your patience? How often have they pushed boundaries, tested limits, and then retreated behind polite apologies when caught? The pattern is relentless. They will take more. They will demand more. And you will continue to give, believing that your goodness shields you. But it doesn't. It has never protected anyone. History whispers this lesson through the stories of those who hesitated, who allowed kindness to blind them. Think of the generals who delayed a decision because they didn't want to appear cruel. Their armies suffered. Their rivals acted decisively. The world does not wait for the polite, the hesitant, the accommodating. Every moment of hesitation is a window for someone else to act, to rise, to claim what you could have held. Niceness is a subtle poison. It masks itself as virtue, but it secretly consumes your ability to act freely. You owe favors, explanations, and apologies that you never agreed to. You carry invisible debts that others exploit without remorse. Every act of unguarded kindness adds to the weight on your shoulders, leaving you tired, resentful, and vulnerable. Even your own mind begins to betray you. The constant effort to appear good creates anxiety. You second-guess every word, every gesture, every choice. You fear being seen as harsh or selfish, even when the situation demands firmness. The world doesn't reward your caution, it punishes it. Those who act decisively, without apology, rise while you shrink behind your own conscience. And yet, most people cling to this mask. They believe that being liked protects them. They believe that their morality shields them from harm. But the truth is far crueler. Being nice in a world that prizes strength and cunning is a vulnerability. It invites manipulation, tests, patience, and slowly corrodes confidence. Those who smile too easily, who yield too readily, are the first to fall. Even in personal life, the consequences are clear. Friends take advantage. Lovers test your limits. Colleagues exploit your generosity. Every act of unguarded kindness becomes a leash, every attempt to please, a chain. You begin to see how much energy you expend to accommodate others, how much influence you have surrendered simply because you believed that being good mattered more than being wise. The descent is quiet, but inevitable. Niceness, unchecked, becomes self-sabotage. It dulls your instincts, weakens your decision-making, and blinds you to danger. You start giving up parts of yourself, your voice, your time, your boundaries, all in the name of harmony. And all the while, the world moves forward, rewarding decisiveness, courage, and the willingness to act without apology. Machiavelli observed this truth long ago. Appear virtuous, but act with intent. Let others see your goodness, but never be enslaved by it. The lesson is simple, yet hard. Kindness must be measured. It must be chosen, not instinctive. It must never come at the cost of your freedom, your strength, or your influence. Otherwise, it is no longer kindness. It is self-inflicted weakness. The most dangerous part is how invisible this poison is. While you remain convinced that your generosity defines you, the world sees something else. They see opportunity. They see leverage. They see a pattern they can exploit. And every act of goodness, without strategy, becomes another tool in their hands. You are no longer acting. You are reacting. And in the world of influence, reaction is submission. By the time you realize the damage, it is often too late. The opportunities you could have seized are gone. The people you could have dominated with skill are now out of reach. The strength you sacrifice for appearances cannot be reclaimed easily. Niceness, once innocent, has become your invisible captor. Niceness is not neutral. It is a subtle poison that consumes your strength. It corrupts your decisions, bends your will, and enslaves you to the whims of others. The world does not reward your good intentions. It exploits them. But awareness is the first step toward freedom. Recognizing the hidden cost of your generosity gives you the chance to reclaim your power. You do not have to abandon kindness entirely, but you must act with intention. Every gesture, every word, every compromise should serve a purpose, not just a hope. True mastery begins when you stop hiding behind virtue and start seeing its shadow. The moment you do, you no longer fall prey to the subtle traps of politeness, empathy, and over-accommodation. You begin to navigate the world on your own terms, decisive, deliberate, and aware. Niceness is not neutral. It is a subtle poison that consumes your strength, corrupts your decisions, and enslaves you to the whims of others. Every act of unguarded kindness becomes an invisible chain, leaving you weaker and more vulnerable. True awareness begins when you stop hiding behind virtue and start seeing its shadow. Only then can you reclaim your freedom and act with purpose in a world that rewards decisiveness. Now that you have seen the cost of being too kind, the question is no longer theoretical. It is real. It is immediate. You must choose. Will you remain a victim of your own generosity, or will you transform it into power? The difference is subtle but deadly. Mastery begins with intention. You do not abandon kindness. You redefine it. Every act of generosity becomes deliberate. Every smile carries meaning. Every favor, every apology, every word you choose is measured, purposeful, and strategic. You understand that influence is the currency of life, and kindness is one of its tools, not a reflex, not a weakness. History whispers its lessons to those willing to listen. Abraham Lincoln, remembered for his gentleness, wielded kindness as a form of authority. He listened patiently, smiled calmly, and forgave publicly. Yet, when decisive action was required, he acted with unflinching precision. His empathy never blinded him. It was controlled, and that control gave him more power than brute force ever could. The dangerous individual learns the same. You do not act harshly for the sake of cruelty. You do not smile to deceive every time. You balance. You appear virtuous without surrendering your freedom. You give without being exploited. You help without losing influence. And in doing so, you walk a line most will never understand. The line between perceived goodness and true strength. Boundaries become your shield. Decisiveness becomes your weapon. Every act of kindness is measured against the cost of compromise. Every gesture is calculated against the risk of exploitation. You no longer fear being disliked, because you understand that respect and fear are stronger than approval. You are free, not because the world accepts you, but because you have learned the rules of its hidden game. Emotionally, this is liberation. No longer do you carry the weight of others' expectations. No longer do you sacrifice your own desires for appearances. Your generosity is no longer a burden. It becomes a choice, a tool, a statement of power. You smile because it serves you. You forgive because it strengthens you. You give because it builds leverage, influence, or clarity, never because the world expects it. Consider the battlefield of social life. In it, hesitation is fatal, weakness is exploited, and indecision is punished. Every opportunity you delay, every concession you make to avoid discomfort, is a gift to those who act with purpose. The mastered individual moves differently. They act deliberately, they give strategically, and they withdraw when the cost outweighs the benefit. And in that rhythm, they become untouchable. Machiavelli captured this truth centuries ago. It is not what men think you are, but what you control in them that ensures your survival. Mastery is not about cruelty. It is about control. It is about understanding human nature and acting within it without surrendering yourself. It is about bending the world subtly, skillfully, while remaining true to your own objectives. Even in personal relationships, the transformation is profound. You no longer allow manipulation. You no longer grant access without reason. You no longer apologize for your boundaries. People recognize strength without needing to be told. Influence grows naturally when it is paired with clarity, decisiveness, and intentional kindness. You are neither tyrant nor saint. You are something far more formidable, a force that cannot be used, controlled, or broken easily. The path is not easy. It is lonely. It requires constant reflection, constant self-awareness, constant vigilance. You must monitor your intentions and your impact. You must decide every day when to yield and when to act. You must carry the weight of knowledge that kindness without awareness is dangerous. But in accepting this, you also claim your freedom. You reclaim the power that others take for granted, and you begin to move through the world with a quiet authority that demands respect without demanding applause. Mastery is the moment when you realize that danger and goodness are not opposites, they are instruments. When wielded consciously, both serve you. You smile to influence, forgive to strengthen, and give to build. The dangerous individual is not cruel. They are deliberate. And in that deliberation, they achieve what most never will: freedom within influence, control without fear, power without losing themselves. In the end, mastery is about choice. It is about transforming the weakness of unchecked niceness into the strength of deliberate action. It is about seeing the shadows behind every smile, every request, every interaction, and acting anyway on your own terms. To survive, to thrive, to dominate, you do not abandon virtue. You transform it. You refine it. And in doing so, you become untouchable, unstoppable, and unshakable. The mastery of life is not the abandonment of virtue, but its transformation into strength. You do not stop being kind. You choose when, why, and how to be kind. Every gesture becomes a tool, every smile a statement, every favor a step toward freedom. You no longer act reflexively. You act deliberately, with awareness of cost and consequence. The world respects power, not politeness. And the truly dangerous understand that only by mastering kindness can they claim influence without being used. Freedom comes from intent. Power comes from clarity. Respect comes from balance. And the final truth is simple. Only those willing to embrace the dark reality of niceness can afford to wield it with skill. The mastery of life is not the abandonment of virtue, but its transformation into strength. When kindness is wielded with intent, every smile, every favor, every gesture becomes a step toward freedom and power. Boundaries, decisiveness, and awareness turn generosity into influence. To survive, to dominate, to thrive, you must embrace the dark truth. Only the dangerous can afford to be nice. Mastery is not cruelty. It is deliberate, strategic, and unstoppable.